Pranil Tranbag joining us on that. Thank you so much, Pranil. Yellow vest protesters have once again gathered near the Champs-Élysées Boulevard in Paris. This is the fifth consecutive weekend of demonstrations in France against the reforms proposed by President Emmanuel Macron's government. Protesters waved flags and carried signs. Police attempted to block the large crowds and sprayed tear gas as clashes broke out. Dozens of protesters have been detained already. Meanwhile, 5 bare-breasted women dressed Marianne, the symbol of the French public, joining the yellow vest protesters clad in red hoods with bodies painted silver. The women came to support demonstrators in the heart of Paris. Earlier in the day, police also conducted various road checks and searched motorists' vehicles in an effort to limit the violence. Shops and department stores have been closed for the day as the protesters defied calls by the French government, urging them to stay at home. The Yellow Vest movement began 5 weeks ago, initially against the rise in fuel taxes, but since then has spread far and wide, taking on a number of other issues as well, including education reforms. And now we have Dr. Joseph Downing, fellow at the London School of Economics and expert on French politics, joining us. First question to you, sir. Do you think President of France, Emmanuel Macron, has done enough to calm down the protests? The streets of Paris are still tense.
They're still tense, but the numbers are much lower than they have been. And this was a Friday when the leaders of the protests, as well as some on the far left in France, called for the biggest demonstrations yet. So it seems as if, to me, the protest movement is not as strong as it was. What his concessions have done is they appear to have split the movement. So those in the kind of mainstream sort of political centre-left or centre-right have seen that as enough. And what's left, I think, is a much more hardcore far-left, far-right element that basically want to overthrow the system rather than just get concessions from the current government.
Now, we're also seeing the French unions come out in protests similar to the Yellow Vests. Do you expect more?
It's very interesting, actually, because the unions have been remarkably silent during Macron's presidency. So there are a lot of people that have seen France historically as a place where the unions have been so important in channeling dissent. For me, one of the key causes as to why the Yellow Vest movement emerged is because of the inactivity of the unions. So people have sort of seen it, that they have to mobilise for themselves. The fact that the unions have come out, it seems to be that they're jumping on the bandwagon, but they have to be quite careful because, as I've said, the mainstream from the Yellow Vest movement has fallen away. So it seems to be just the hardcore that's left. So if the unions do come out now, it's kind of too little too late, and they risk aligning themselves with more extreme political views.